I'm Jay from Enscape. Welcome to Enigma Media.
Ah, man.
Ich will kommen warm.
It didn't take that long to make me fall. I'm bleeding back against the wall. You're screaming for something to change, and I don't want to see you fall. You're a victim of an endless role, so you're leaving our lives once again. Let's go, I'm waiting for a leap of faith. This will be the last time that you ever scream my name. So help me see, 'cause we all deserve change. Help me breathe, 'cause I'm going insane. These sleepless nights melting.
Nice.
What up, headbangers? I'm Rob O'Day.
I'm Norm Mathers.
Welcome to Enigma Media. Today we're chilling with Anarcheon from Vancouver. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing great.
Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and let us know how the band got together?
Shit, how the band got together?
Sylvain, Kaya, Mac, Mike. Started with me and Sylvain. We actually met on Craigslist
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
and we met at a local pub and we got along so well that we just decided that we were gonna work together. We didn't even hear each other's shit. We just, oh yeah, we're gonna work together, like totally.
That's funny.
And that it was all uphill from there.
A couple of ditches, but
Yeah, we hit a couple bitches.
Yeah, you guys have been a band for a while too, because I know I played with you when I was in Meteor Tree, which was I want to say like 5 years ago minimum.
I think that was 2017.
Yeah,
I
it
think.
was. Yeah, 16 or 17. I can't remember. It was the one that was in Lone Butte, but it was fucking
Yeah.
so much fun. Like, or just my favorite part was waking up in the morning. I'm like, can I play my drums? And you guys are like, yep. I'm like, yes. So I know that you guys have been around for a long time, and your music
a
is
couple of different incarnation now.
Yeah,
yeah.
we've
And your
been
guys'
reincarnated a few times.
Yeah,
and the sound only gets better.
I would-
Like your
Yeah.
guys' recent single, Bloody Mary, is fucking wicked. And like you just released it, didn't you? And at the beginning of this month. How was the process in recording that?
It was fun. Like we wrote the songs and planned out our studio time and just like practiced the shit out of it and went into Rain City Recorders with Matt Roach. So he's always a good time. He's amazing at his job.
He's a gem.
Yeah.
he gets us,
He's
so that helps.
It's nice when you find a producer who knows the sound you want. They kind of have the same vision, you know, and you
sure.
work well with them. It makes recording a lot smoother, I find, versus working with somebody who thinks they know what they're doing with metal, but they've recorded only strictly rock before or other types. But metal has a totally different production value, I think. You have to be more in depth, or like I guess more in tune with everything, because there's so much noise, but it all has its own specific spot in a mix, you know what I mean?
Everyone
As
wants
we're-
to be loud.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to take loud and turn it into full, you know what I mean? And only certain producers can capture that, which is nice, and especially when you can find one. How has COVID affected you guys during this writing time of the past year? I know that all the venues in Vancouver have shut down.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a blessing in disguise. Obviously, it sucks for a lot of people, but all of us have been with a job, and we've just been working on the other side of, not doing live shows. So we've been working on marketing and, like videos and recording and stuff like
Songwriting.
that. Songwriting.
Content creation, really.
Yeah, it's definitely the new market. It's weird how becoming you wouldn't think being a musician 10 years ago would lead you to have to be a popular social media presence. You know what I mean? Like it used to be about music, now it's about popularity, so it sucks.
Yeah.
It kind of takes away the value of what you can create in content, I guess.
Yeah.
'Cause
It opens other avenues too, though. It's fun. Like it's interesting how you find little ways to like do stuff like on the TikTok and stuff like that.
yeah, no. And also it's like with video creation, like with Fifth Circle, like how you were in their music video for the standoff, and like the way they do their in their jam space videos when they're recording them talking, and it's just like they're creating content in their own way, you know what I mean, that makes
Yeah.
them it's unique to the band. And I think that's been a cool aspect, is you've gotten to know the bands almost more now because of COVID than before when you were there performing. When you see them, say hi to them, tell them they were awesome, and then they got to go pack up and sit at the merch table kind of a thing. So it's funny, you get to meet the personalities. Like with our band doing content, it's been really funny because we realize that we're all just absolutely immature, except for our drummer. So like our drummer's by far, like, I don't know, the boys always call him dad because he is the mature one, you know what I mean? So it's funny because we all see things differently, but at the same time, like it's like a unique experience how every band is creating themselves in their own way, because they have to now, because the industry is so fucked up and weird. Like with Spotify,
you're more personable to your fan base,
Yeah.
which is like, it's very
That's
kind
the
of
most
forcing you to
important.
humanize yourself more.
yeah,
Where
I mean,
you just
yeah,
throw down
exactly.
on stage, they see you live, but now they have to, the only way to really make yourself relative is show more than just the, you know, your shows, really, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and it's very true, especially with performances. Like your guys' performance is fucking fun to watch too, because you're high energy, you know what I mean? So it's funny being able to like show a uniqueness on stage and then show like a completely different side in content and the way you treat your fans and talk with them. And I think it definitely makes people like you more personable, like you said. It's key. I think that's one thing that died in the music industry. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, like when Stutterfly and stuff was around, like the music scene then was insane. Like
Mhm.
you'd have huge shows in tiny little venues, you know what I mean? Like it's just, things are changing, and it's weird how live music has become kind of like back burner.
Yeah. That was like kind of the time where like Facebook was getting big. Like when Stutterfly was coming around, it's like I think I don't even think I had Facebook then.
No,
was
I
My
think
little
MySpace.
sisters
that was
had
the
Facebook
MySpace
before I
days.
did.
Yeah, the
Yeah, and
MySpace days.
Exopia.
Yeah. And it's weird how like that used to be the thing to do, and now it's like, I'm just gonna sit and scroll on Facebook. I don't know where the whole gap went from like music being appreciated to music being
Well,
not
fucking Much
appreciated.
Music just
Yeah.
dropped the freaking ball, and MTV, they're just like, oh yeah, we're not actually gonna do music anymore.
Yeah,
Reality TV show it is.
Like it's not even cool anymore.
yeah, my girlfriend actually brought that point up. I think it was a couple of days ago, and I was like, that's very true. I didn't actually even think about that, how MTV when we were kids was like, you actually saw music videos on it, and they had like the ones where they talked about cool facts about the song or the band, like popped up, and I was like,
Video.
yeah, dude. And like it's just like now bands are like, no one really cares unless you're famous on TikTok or you're making ridiculous videos. Like you've got YouTube stars who are becoming way more famous than bands who've been doing it for 20 years, just because they have that fan base, and then they're like, I'm gonna make music now. It's like, well, what about us? We've been here
Like
forever.
what is that, Filthy Frank or whatever his name is?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck man, he just got like so famous, and now he's like making this like weird, like sweet music,
Yeah,
and he's just like, I'm a nice guy, and has this beautiful voice.
yeah.
And then
It's
you hear
so
him, he's
weird.
like, eh.
It's almost what you have to do. What you have to do now to get famous with music is like completely have a different hobby, and then just be like, oh hey, I'm in a band. You know what I mean? It sucks, but
P.S.
yeah, and I think it'll change. I hope it changes. And I know that after COVID is over, I know everybody in BC, at least that I've talked to, is like, let's fucking do something. There's no venues. We need to like renegade metal shows almost, you know what I mean? Because like Munins is gone, and there were so many good venues in Vancouver that were open to metal. So
Yeah.
I think there's like one left, two left now.
It's
And,
pretty sad.
Yeah, they're already closing pre-COVID, so
yeah, and that's a
COVID.
sad thing, right? Because Vancouver, like it used to get tons of huge shows too. Like tons of bands would come through there, and I've found that it's even slowed down with the amount of bands that are coming through. So that completely like neglects the entire West Coast because
Yeah.
Calgary doesn't get shows, Vancouver doesn't get shows. So it's almost at the point where our I was talking to a Florida band, and they were saying like no bands go to Florida because their music scene is classified as like not worth it. And I'm like, has that
Oh.
become the BC scene in Canada, where people don't want to come to BC? Like, we need to change that. We need to fix that.
Need to
That's
put back on the map.
yeah, like it has to come back, but I think it's gonna have to come back in the hands of the bands because like we don't have big labels. We don't have agencies. Like we have a couple, but we're not like LA. We're not like the States where we have people who can see us. You know what I mean? We have to appeal to the world before we even get heard. So it sucks because like you either have to go to Eastern Canada, the States, or Europe to get big nowadays. And it's really hard to get noticed with so many bands out there. And
Even
especially
with
being
the
from where
States-
we are. Pardon?
even with the States during the Trump era, like you can't really go down there anymore.
Yeah, and that was the thing I was saying too, is like it was really hard for bands to go to get the States from Canada because he didn't want us going in. And that it's always cool when we talk to like bands from BC because they understand the music scene here. That's where like trying to explain the music scene to somebody in Hungary who's got a wicked scene, or like England who's got a wicked scene, they don't understand what it's like to be here, where it's like, oh, you got to travel 16 hours just to get to a venue. Like they have 15 venues in an hour drive, so it's a different thing there.
Both ways.
Right?
Yeah, so it's, I think being bands in BC and Alberta are, if you've made it as far as you have, you've done way more work than a lot of other bands where they have, say, millions of people to be able to reach to in their own town. Like you guys have a decent following, and it shows because your music's good. You know what I mean? It's not just because people were liking your page just because. It's because you've worked for it. And I think most BC bands have to work harder because we don't have anywhere to play, which is a weird concept because like there's so many wicked bands in BC, like so many. And
The crazy thing about BC and Vancouver is like it's a great place to actually be a musician because you have all the necessities you need on the business aspect of being in a band.
mhm.
But actually performing in BC is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like like how the film industry also moved from Vancouver and Hollywood to kill like the Okanagan now. It's just a weird concept how things have changed so quickly. And how it's changed from almost like embracing art to not embracing art on all forms. Like they're kind of like, it's like I always say they in quotations, you know, like they're trying to kill it down, but it's like it's just a weird concept because even like 5 years ago, like Banksy was like the shit, you know, like graffiti was getting huge, and then all of a sudden just like that whole art scene that was popular just died. The music scene died, and it was all before COVID. But I think COVID definitely just kind of like stuck the knife in the back.
Yeah, segregating people and making people more like socially anxious, and it's just gonna not be good. People think it'll just come back and everything will be great, but a lot of people are turning into agoraphobes, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
it's
No,
gonna be
and
weird.
there's a recent study in Canada that like 20% don't want to go back to live shows. Yeah, and that's like, if that's 20% of Canadians, and you're like, well, shit, if that's like 20% of BC too, then we're fucked. Like we've already got like 1% coming. We've got so many people, so
It won't be the metalheads that'll stop coming to the shows, I don't think.
no. Yeah, I always say
I think that
metalheads are
actually-
like, yeah, metalheads are like the most like dedicated people you'll ever meet. If people are like, I want a hardworking, dedicated like employee, hire a fucking metalhead. You treat him good, he's gonna work his ass off. You ever seen how much he loves his music? Man, he will do whatever it takes. So it's I don't know, we're a unique breed. I definitely think if like the apocalypse happened, metalheads would survive. You know what I mean? Just because we're nice. Like everyone always thinks metalheads are total dicks too. They're like, oh fuck, you see them, they look like
And
assholes.
scary.
in
The
reality,
scene itself is very community orientated.
yeah,
Like that,
it varies.
that's the nice thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what metalheads are, is they're a family. Like my favorite video ever is the video of like, I can't remember what concert it is, but they're like lifting a guy up in his wheelchair so he can crowd surf. And I'm like, you don't see that at a hip hop show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would love to see that at a hip hop show, but I don't think that would happen. So
Yeah,
it's
it happened at Armstrong. I don't know if there's a video of it. They lifted Tyler in his wheelchair.
right, like
It's
that's
pretty sweet.
awesome. Yeah, like, and even the Armstrong Fest, like that was so wicked. And even that over the past 4 years has slowly like declined. The amount of bands that are coming, amount of people that are coming, and that's a weird thing because that was getting so big. So
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. I think I blame it on country. I blame it on the rise of people loving country music, like pop
Yeah.
country, not good country, but like it's just, I think people don't want to look for music anymore. Like we used to, I guess. Like we
There's
used
so
to always,
much. That's why.
Well,
yeah,
when streaming became prevalent, and you can just get, you know, music was just attached to your phone via streaming. Like what? It just takes all the guesswork or all the research that you had to do before.
it takes the magic out of it. Like
Yeah.
I love finding bands that no one knows about. I think that's why we created, like, that's the best part about creating this, is we get to find all the coolest bands and just be like, hey, we got them. You guys don't know bands. Do you know our bands? So like my buddy posted, he's like, I need some new music. And I have like a huge list of all the bands we've interviewed that I'm working on. And I just like sent it to him. He's like, dude, this is insane. I'm like, it's what y'all missing out on. Like, you gotta start looking for music again. So, and like even our local bands are insane. Like if we had, I don't understand why our scene isn't bigger. And it sucks because like, yeah, Spotify has ruined everything, but at the same time given us the ability to reach out to so many more people. But it sucks because it's not genuine. It's like they're not going to come to your show. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter how many likes you make during COVID. None of those people, unless they're dedicated and in your area, are going to go to your shows. So I think that we've lost that ability, other than like what you said, having content that is personable to your crowd. I think that's a huge thing now, is having to change.
Social barrier, right?
Yeah, it's a really weird time for bands. Like it's really fucking weird. And even when it opens
Or when
up,
you're just performing, like your persona when you're performing is much different than how you are now.
mhm,
So since you can't show that persona anymore, you definitely have to like take down that social barrier and be like, hey, like, you know, we're gonna bring you in. This is who we are.
yeah, especially for vocalists, because we got to like put on that, you know, and then in reality we're all like, hi, how you doing? Yeah, so like it is totally two different people. Like when we're on stage, we're embodying every aspect of what's you're hearing. You know what I mean? Like the sadness, the happy, the anger, the technical side, the magic. It's just like there's so much behind being in a band. I always say it's a euphoric experience being on stage or jamming, because you really don't remember it. You really, like, if you try to think back about all the shows you've played, there's only a handful of shows you can remember. And it's a weird concept because it is almost like a high. You're just like in the zone, eyes closed, connected with the band, and nothing else is there. Even though like there's hundreds of people or there's 10 people, it doesn't really matter who's there once you link. Yeah, like that link connection between bands is fucking super cool to witness. And I think people are missing that.
Yeah.
Watching that, because like, I don't know, watching a band play and you get to, they're just like, there's something about just like that awe, and you fall in love with them, you know what I mean? And not having that is definitely, I think, killed music,
Mhm.
because people have been so
Especially
focused on,
metal,
yeah,
metal very much being all about the show.
mm-hmm.
Like you don't really make money in metal in the first place. It's already a niche crowd. Everything is like, you know, show, very stage dominant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But especially more so than other genres of music. So
Yeah,
that's a
always
tough.
I keep asking like people like what they think of what's going to happen to like the bigger bands that rely on touring and sales of merch. Like, are they just going to go bankrupt and we're not going to see them again?
Probably the metal bands, yeah.
Like even some big artists, I think, like unless they're like selling themselves like perfumes and shit, you know what I mean? Like I think there's gonna be a lot of
Selling their
people.
underwear.
Yeah, like exactly. Like I think there's gonna be a huge opening soon as COVID's done, when all these bands are the bands that didn't adapt to the climate and got used to marketing and how to network with other people versus the bands who just kind of like, well, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like, I think
Yeah.
there's gonna be a huge like, yeah, it's flooded right now because everyone can put their stuff out and everyone had put their stuff out before, but I think after COVID, it's not gonna be as difficult for bands because like adapting to the climate now has been really hard on a lot of bands because it's drawn a lot of tension between groups in some aspects. Like I know some bands have, because they haven't been able to jam or work with each other, they've kind of like grown distant, and that's kind of screwed up some of the music and their writing ability, which is, that's not just like the bands that stuck together are going to last for forever kind of a thing, you know what I mean? Like right now has been such a key division point for bands that I think if you've made it through COVID, you're going to be able to make it through record labels, you're going to be able to make it through publicity, you're going to be able to make it through media. Like that, it's just like it's taught us to be more self-sufficient and independent, which has kind of given us that freedom from having to worry about, oh well, we need to push to get likes, we need to push to get record labels to look at us. You don't really need to anymore, because if you just keep doing what you're doing, that market that we were hoping to get into is going to be open because they're going to need us at that point. They don't have a grip on the industry like they used to. Like the main metal industry, I feel is going to open up big time due to a lot of our bands that we look up to. Either it affected them so much that they can't recover. You know what I mean? Like they lost so much money during COVID this past year that it's going to be impossible for them to recover. So I think that'll open up a huge market for bands to be picked up.
Yeah, I
Hopefully.
never actually thought about that.
I definitely think it will, because like you look at all the businesses that have shut down. That's every industry. Realistically, and the music industry has been hit the hardest out of any of them because we can't do anything. So I think we're going to go back to the time where record labels have to like go out and physically look for bands, but like not to the venue, you know, like they're going to have to look for the talent, not for the number of likes, because they're not going to have like, yeah, they're not going to be able to rely on their top tier money makers anymore because they're not racking in that millions of dollars right now. So they're going to be like, shit, what are we going to do? They're going to have to like find this actual talent that's up and coming. So it'll be nice instead of just filling their roster with like mediocre bands that are popular. So yeah, it'll be cool. I hope, at least. I mean, that's my vision. I'll put it out to the universe. What do you guys plan on doing as soon as COVID's done? Are you planning on any tours right now? Because I know that things are aiming for summer.
I mean, I don't know if that'll happen, but
Right?
as soon as we catch kind of wind, we definitely want to go tour.
Yeah.
And yeah, but right now we're just working on music videos.
Yeah, we try to be ready at the drop of a dime, pretty much. As soon as something turns, we want to jump into it and we want to make sure we're ready for that as
Yeah.
well. So
Mhm.
right now, to plan too far ahead is kind of redundant because nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
But whenever it does happen, we're gonna be there.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
what sucks is that, like, especially in BC, it's been so up in the air and back and forth. And I know that, like, we were just talking to bands in the States, and they're like, they're getting ready to perform. Like, they're
Some of them
planning-
already are.
Yeah, some already are. Like, our
Wow.
friend, what was it? Semper Service. They're already performing. Like, they've just been posting pictures, and same with Redefined. And I'm like, I'm so jealous.
Oh.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
that's like
It's
like
such a-
so
big-
jealous.
Yeah,
So-
I don't want to play if there can't be like people near each other and moshing.
Right?
Like
I
it
know.
just seems silly.
Yeah, it's better to wait at that point.
Yeah.
Right? It's better to
And when everything does open back up, like the bands that didn't do anything during COVID and just like took it as a break, they're gonna fall behind.
no big time.
You know, like this is a perfect opportunity to get your shit together.
Mhm.
And that's what we've been doing. And hopefully, you know, that'll show because promoters are it's going to be like it used to be. They're going to be picky, you know, because so many bands are going to want to play. They're going to only be able to like pick the ones that have been working hard.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's a key thing, is who's put in the work over the past year.
I'm kind of worried a bit that because of the amount of bands that's going to be available once this flips around, you're going to go back to one of those pay-to-play kind of bullshit.
Mhm.
Kind of make bands compete. It's like, well, it's $1,000 to get on this bill, blah, 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 that kind of shit. Right?
Yeah,
Like
no,
it used
that's
to be a couple, that was bullshit, and I hated it then. And I hope they don't go back to that.
right. Well, that's why we got people like you guys who put on festivals. Like, that's what we need more of, is that rebellious, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna rent a venue that's not a bar and do an all ages event and promote to people and actually do it for the music and not for the money. And I think most bands are all on the same wavelength of that. Like, if a promoter's going to try and charge them after COVID, like, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like, we've dealt with enough at this point. We'll just do it ourselves.
Hopefully there's such a demand for shows once everything comes back that venues start to open up. Like, hopefully they realize how dedicated we are to seeing live music again, and maybe the same people that had venues before that had just dried up a little bit, or whatever it was, because the only venue we had in Kelowna did sort of close right before COVID full on hit.
Yeah, it's
I
like
think
they
we were
knew.
like, I think we were like the last show to play there, right?
Yeah, we opened up for Bison from Vancouver, and yeah, I think we were the last show at Munins, one of the last shows. So,
and it's already changed. It's something
Favorite
else.
I know. You guys opened up for, who was it again? You guys played there lots though, didn't you?
We played there
Yeah,
three, four
three
times.
or four times, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
because
the
I remember,
best.
I want to say that it was can't remember her
The
name.
last one out there where there's like Stasis, us, Massive Scar era.
I think that was the one I was thinking of, to be honest.
Yeah,
Oh,
I feel like the woods. So,
What is
They're
it
from
called?
Canada. They're from Toronto. I just can't remember their name right now. I'm not sure. I tend to get lost in what I've
Oh, the
seen and what I
Agnes.
haven't seen.
No, that
Yes.
was in-
That was not.
That was in Kamloops.
Oh yeah, that was Kamloops. That was not Kelowna.
Oh, maybe it was promote. They just had a flyer for you guys there.
Yeah. but
Yeah.
We did, yeah.
Oh,
we did
okay.
Kamloops.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
still fucking epic though, because like,
that was really
man,
cool.
It was sweet.
right? Like, that would be super fun. I bet, like,
I
who's
was in
been
Kamloops.
I
You
like
guys have-
him.
Kamloops is funny. It's a weird scene.
It
They have
is.
like, you don't expect it to be as good as it is almost, but then like it's hit and miss at the same time. Depends on where you play.
Universities in. Like, that's a big thing, because it's all like, it's university kids or old people that retired. Like, that's Kamloops.
Yeah.
So if you're playing a show and there's no university kids, well, you're not really playing a show in front of people.
Yeah, you really got to research where you're promoting to in BC. Like, try and perform in Penticton, not gonna happen. You know what I mean? There's no venues. Kelowna's got a couple venues, and you definitely got to go to the coast. And even there, like, I've heard that like Langley doesn't really appeal to metal. Surrey doesn't. So it's really hard. Like, it's hit or miss where you go for shows. Vancouver itself, like the city, fuck yeah, people want it. You know what I mean? So it
I pretty much don't go anywhere but Vancouver
yeah,
to play.
yeah, and that's what
It's a
sucks.
music city with real venues too.
Yeah.
Surrey's got Dives,
Mission.
Mission, yeah, Mission's all right.
Or sorry, Maple Ridge. Yeah, Maple Ridge.
Hmm.
Maple Ridge has a good venue. The Wolf.
Very small, but that's
Yeah.
And Captain's Cabin.
that's in Mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, every time I've gone to those two venues, like, the place was, well, they're small venues, so they seem packed with a lot of people, but still. It's like
Cabin's huge.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Those are my
Yeah.
favorite though. Like, small venues when you've got like 150 people in they're like cramming in people for the last 50 people. You're like, oh, we got 100 capacity. Fuck it, 50 more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just like, everyone's so close. Those are the best when like you can feel the sweat from the crowd and the crowd can feel your sweat. You know, those are the best concerts for sure.
Yeah. It's
Like,
not
even-
fun being short in those concerts though.
No, like, yeah, no, I almost, that's what happened to me at Smashing Pumpkins. I almost died because I was like, and I'm so short that it's just like, yeah, I'm not good for mosh pits. I'll fuck somebody up in a mosh pit, but I don't like the crammed ones. Like, they're crazy. Are you guys working on a new album or anything right now?
We
We see
just
some
recorded
singles.
5 songs, so that was our first release. And next we're releasing our EP. And then we're going to release another single after that. So it's all ready to go pretty much. We have some like really exciting announcements when we do release our EP. Top secret step.
Right?
Sweet.
And we're gonna release it
don't you
within-
hate that feeling? It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, we've got the coolest thing to tell you guys, but we can't tell you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been having to bite my tongue too. It's fun. But it sucks because I'm like, fuck, man. Just like I want to scream it out loud.
Yeah.
So, no, I totally get it. That's awesome. Like, because you guys have adapted then to the climate of we're not in a market of EP or full albums anymore. It's a world of EPs and singles.
Back to singles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
mean,
kinda cool.
that's just the way it is going, and we're just gonna be like pumping out singles with videos to each one, and you know, making YouTube content.
We
Honestly.
always have new material that we're working on. There's always new songs being written constantly. We
Mhm.
always kind of have a block of 3 songs that are brand new that we're working on. Once those 3 are done, we move on to the next 3 and then next 3. And there's an infinite amount of songs that I've got in my fucking head.
Right.
And
He has a sick head.
we could literally like
Just
spend the rest of the year in the studio every other month, record 3 songs and work on them and release a new single like nonstop.
Yeah.
How does your guys' writing process work?
Starts with this crazy guy's head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's 1,000 riffs.
Yeah, I get really drunk, and when I'm hungover, the beat going on in my head, I come out, the song come out of that, and then I just munch on it for a while, and then eventually it forms, and I grab a bass, and then I put it to string, and then I come up with guitar ideas, and then I record it, and I send it to, usually I record on Reaper usually, because we can't get together that much, but when we can, we do, but otherwise I'm just at home. I put it on Reaper, send it over to the Dropbox, and then Mac will put his drum to it. Slowly, and Kai will get her ideas, and then it forms that way pretty much.
You put bass down first?
I write bass. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything starts with bass. with me.
lead bass.
Man.
Every song is bass.
So Sir Trailing and
I
Headless
said,
Horseman.
Search Healing.
Yeah, those didn't start with the bass because it was with our old guitar player.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah, I had-
either
Oh.
way, those tracks were fucking groovy.
They were pretty groovy, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a different incarnation. He's not with us anymore. But it was one of those instances where we had to cater to his style because he couldn't cater to our style. So it was fun at first, but it only lasted so long. Because like,
Mhm.
this is not
Fair
really-
enough.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think everyone can
When
relate
things
to that.
started to clash, we just let it clash and go. And now,
Yeah, we are doing now what we should have done from the beginning, and we knew that we should have did it, but we just didn't, which is focus on, you know, Sil is the main songwriter and just go from there because that's what Anarcheon is.
yeah.
It started with us, it's gonna end with us.
That's why I started the band in the first place. I was just sick and tired of guitar players always like being like, "Oh, fucking, this is me," and I'm writing
Yeah,
everything.
just
and
the worst.
yeah, I'm writing
Fucking
everything.
Yeah, who fucking cares about guitar players?
I got better ideas, not better ideas than some of you, but I got my own ideas.
No, I'm
And
not that bad. I love you too, buddy.
No, that's good. That's good to see that you guys have managed to keep going, because I know that that's one of the hardest things for a band is that losing of a member, especially like if it's somebody who's been with you for a while.
Yeah.
It's
Well-
difficult, and how you move through it is it really determines the band, and I find it usually creates the band stronger.
I'll be
One
honest,
person
when it was
can wreck it.
Kind of happening. I was trying to already move my way into.
Yeah, he was
wanting to be
already
the second
trying
guitar
to-
player.
Get in our band before, but I mean, it just made sense with Mike joining because like you have to add people that you completely get along with, and like he's one of our best friends, so it just like made sense because we knew how he is and we knew that he'd be good, and you know,
And we performed together a lot. Like
Yeah,
those 2
we-
years. Like
so he's in fifth circle.
Mhm.
And yeah, we played together lots, and it was just like our brother band, so it's just like it was
Wait,
sweet.
Yeah, no, and
Kurt.
that's what's funny is that was when I was interviewing them, I totally had recognized Nikki, and I was like, I recognize her from somewhere. And then she mentioned Metalocalypse, and I'm like, holy fuck, it clicked. And it was just funny because it was like, damn, like it is a tight knit scene in BC. We really do have a good group of bands. It's just unfortunate there's no one who sees that and appeals to them. You know, no one who's like,
Good group of bands. Where's the fans?
yeah, like the fans and the venues. I think that like Shane Koizan wrote an article, like a poem or something years ago called Where's the Beef? And it's about venues, not like what's the problem with venues versus bands? Like why do they always not want up and coming? They only want cover bands or like things like that, like acoustic artists. They don't, it's changed, right? Yeah, I know that like fucking Voodoo's used to like throw down back in the day. Like there was a little dive bar here in Penticton that used to have like gnarly shows. Like holy fuck, we thrashed the place. Like we were on top of tables and shit. Like they just didn't care, but they brought in wicked shows and they were like, hey, well, fucking do your thing. So like we need more venues like that.
One of the worst things is like, even though venues were closing down pre-COVID, there was the community was actually getting so strong here in Vancouver that an entire bill of just locals, the entire venue was sold out.
Right?
Like max capacity, there was at least 1, 2 every single weekend. Like it was making, there was so much promise, and finally the scene was being super developed that this was just the worst thing that happened right now.
Literally just a giant kick on the balls for the scene, yeah. Because it took
Yeah,
a
like more
while.
people were doing the local shows than touring bands that were coming out. Like it was nice. Like
Mhm.
I don't know how many album release shows I saw in the last year of just local bands and max capacity, every single one of them.
Right, and that's beautiful. Like, and that's just because you guys have, the Vancouver scene has a strong ability to write music. Like the bands from Vancouver are solid as fuck. I've always had like, not like a fanboy, but like I like look up to the bands from Vancouver because they're just, they know what to do. They have produced such good music, and it's like, I don't know, there's something in the water. It's just something there. And it's cool, but it sucks that it's completely shut down and that we have to learn to deal with the new climate and how we have to build it up from the ground again. But I think we know none of us were real business business people before. You know, we were musicians. We've had to turn into like business owners slowly through COVID because we've had to be able to market ourselves and network and create product to be able to sell that's eye-catching enough, like not necessarily selling a product, but our videos and content we're putting out. So in the long run, I think when we get back in, we'll understand how to run it as a business and be able to make money off it easier, to make it a living. But I definitely think that something needs to change because there's a lot of amazing bands in Canada that have to struggle their whole life when, I mean, the government puts a lot of money towards the art community, but for some reason they don't put money towards the art community for music, at least heavy music. So it's kind of an annoying thing. And I think it was Nikki who's mentioned, like, it'd be cool to see like a baseline pay for musicians who have established themselves to a certain point. Like, all right, you get paid this amount of money per hour. You have to put your 8 hours in. If you're going to overtime, you have to mark it down. It's a job. You know what I mean?
Musician welfare.
Yeah. Something along those lines. Because I mean, like, yeah, there's tons of bands out there, but there's not tons of bands out there that take it as serious as you guys, or like, you know, the Fifth Circle, or how Ninja Spy used to be. Like,
But how do you put a definition on who's committed and who's not?
I think you would have to just, yeah. I think
I
there,
think it depends what your goal is.
yeah.
Some people, like, they want to do tour and they want to do all this stuff, but their end goal, they don't see it as something that they're gonna do and make money off it. Whereas, like, I don't believe that. Like, it's science. You do something consistently long enough, you're gonna get there.
Mhm.
You can be shit and you'll still get there,
Mhm.
you know? So you might as well be good and get there.
And I think that's another thing with metal too, is metal bands have spent so much time creating their craft. You know, it's not just like learning the basic chords. Like, there's so much that metalheads know versus, like, I don't know, a pop star, an electronic artist. There's so much more to music that we understand than anybody else, unless they've taken theory or like they're metalheads themselves. Like, we take music to a whole new level, and I think it's underappreciated. Like symphonies and like composers used to be like the fucking rock stars, you know, like Beethoven and shit used to be like people are like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go see them. And like that's how I look at metalheads. Like metal musicians are the composers. They're not just writing 3-chord songs with a 2-chord progression for a chorus, you know, like definitely underappreciated and underrated is I think it's because we scare people. And I just think people need to like man up. I don't know. People are too scared nowadays. Like
I like scaring people. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we get canceled, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I don't know. It's a weird concept that metal used to be like the shit. You know, like people it was the top music for so long, like Metallica and them, and then you have the 80s where it's like hair metal. It's like metal's the top music, and then all of a sudden you hit the 90s and Slipknot's up top, and you've got all these crazy artists, and then it goes to like the fucking Trivium, and then you slowly move on, and then all of a sudden it hits one point and just like pop and metal. Pop went crazy, electronic music went crazy, and for some reason the talent factor went down. And I don't understand. I think it's the popularity contest of social media. I think that's what destroyed music.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I remember the exact switch when like all my metalhead friends all of a sudden were popping E and going to raves.
Right?
All of them. And
Yeah.
they never came back to metal.
No. And that's what
Like,
I think.
fuck.
It's just
Too
that
much.
I think it's just like I think it's brainwashing almost, you know. I mean, it's like it's repetitive 8-bar things of
Yeah.
wobbles and like it's
There's
fun.
like a certain BPM that like works with the human body too, and they just
Yeah.
like they do
They
all these
Tap
things.
into it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like they work with chords in weird ways. Like, yeah, like I don't know, I always jokingly said like house music when I was producing electronic music. Like house music was like a godly music because you're dancing up here. And like when you're producing dubstep, you're like staring at the ground and just like throbbing. So I'm like, it's like satanic, you know, and I'm like, it's definitely like the two versions of electronic music. And then people
Yeah.
always fall towards the dubstep, but it's like you have artists like Sullivan King who merge dubstep and metal, and it's like fucking epic. But it's like he was a metalhead, he was in metal bands, and that's what he had to do to get famous. He had to completely change what he did and add electric guitar and metal to electric music. And it just sucks that we have to change who we are almost to get seen. And I think that that's a really big downfall to 2021. I'd say it's the last like 4 years, really. Because I know like even 5 years ago, the music scene was pretty tight in BC. Like we had wicked shows, wicked venues, and it just like went downhill as soon as Trump got into power or something. Everyone just like the whole world got scared, and we're all like, all right, let's hide inside. We're not gonna go do anything anymore. So
The orange cloud came
yeah,
over.
you're right. Like there was so much writing material over the past 5 years that it's like, I don't know, it's almost too much to digest. Like I think the world is just at that state where we've just seen so much in the past like 4 years. We're just like, nothing surprises us anymore. The only thing that didn't happen is aliens. So I don't know.
Sure that they still haven't happened.
Speak for yourself.
Just say it,
Right.
yeah.
Just rip off my face.
Yeah, no. It's I don't know, it's weird. It's weird. I think it'll change. I'm really looking forward to seeing what it becomes. And if it doesn't become something that's beneficial, then I'm gonna like gather up as many people as I can, and we're gonna like collectively just say fuck it, we're putting on a festival and we're gonna kill it. And yeah, I think that's what's gonna have to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm, like it's
that's the one
definitely
thing that is,
House metal parties.
Is the
Right?
loyalty of metal fans, right? So
yeah.
that's one thing I do think separates metal from other genres, especially when it comes to implementing live shows. Is even if you have one venue, at least our venue is going to be packed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because people come to it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing
So
is,
that's again, that's the only saving grace I can see.
yeah, and it's not that people don't like metal.
Hats.
Well, people love metal. Like metal's slowly being embraced into like pop culture more and more now. Like you see it in commercials, video games, everything. And it's even like pop stars are doing metal remixes, you know, or they've got bands doing heavy versions of it, the instrumentals in the background. And it's like they want it. The world wants it, but somebody's just like, no, 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 no. So I don't know who it is in charge, but they need to like I don't know,
Any
jump
good
off a
people.
cliff. Like they're dumb because like you can't put a fucking barrier on music or like you have Woodstock. You know what I mean? When you put limits to what people can and cannot do, you're gonna have some dude be like, yeah, use my property. And then you're gonna have a fucking huge festival and it turns into a huge revolution. And then people are like, ah shit, we can't stop the masses. So don't try to stop them. Just let people do what they want, you know? People want to listen to metal. Let people listen to metal. Don't try and hide it. You can't hide it. You know, it's like telling a kid you can't do it. What happens if you tell your kid you can't do something? Like fucking they're gonna do it, you know what I mean? So like the more people say metal is not gonna be like popular again or they fight it to not be popular again, I think it's just gonna be like the harder it's gonna happen. And all of a sudden it's just gonna be like a takeover.
I
see
feel
it.
a lot of people are more open to metal in the past like 5 years though. Like people that don't like metal,
Mm-hmm.
they're just like, okay, sure, you know. And like a
Yeah.
lot of rap is like incorporating metal and stuff like that. And like you said, yeah,
It's definitely you see it.
people doing metal versions. Like Ashniko just a metal version of one of her songs, and Doja Cat just put out like a metal-y version. It's pretty cool.
It is, and that's what I think. It's like the people in charge, like the mainstream. Like I want to say because it would be technically you'd go up in ranks, and it would be the record labels who are the ones that are, yes, this is what sells. This isn't what sells. You know what I mean? And there's such a market for metal that the whole world just wants it. Like you got like fucking baby metal. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're put. Like everyone fucking wants it. Everyone wants metal. It's not because it's bad music. It's because it invokes an emotion they're scared of. They're scared to have people want to fight for themselves again. You know what I mean? And metal is definitely like we're a united people kind of a thing.
Well,
And I
there's
think
so many subgenres going on now with other genres of music that are now, like you said, getting more associated towards metal.
Mhm.
So going back to EDM and dubstep, like I just watched a documentary on DEF CON 2.0, like a huge festival based off of a subgenre called hardstep. And it
Mhm.
is straight like 180 BPMs, digga, 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 the whole time.
Yeah.
So people like still want that, like that fast, something that gets your heart racing.
And that's why they love
Every
double
single
kick.
genre of music, you're starting to see it more and more.
Yeah, and it's
So-
definitely I just think it's the people in charge like of the industry. They just don't want it to. And I think that's what it is that metal unites people, you know, like they don't that's why there are so many subgenres. They've had to break us up into different subgenres. It's not just metal, you know, like everything's metal. But now it's like, oh, metalcore. No, you're deathcore. No, you play that. No, bro, we play metal. We're all the same, you know. So it's I think it's the world's separation, and I think that's like the main thing that's happened with everything in the past year. There's been divides on every aspect of the world. So I think that I think once like people just kind of chill out, it'll be more appreciated, and that it is in pop culture. So I definitely think like there's nothing you can do to stop it at this point. Like it's gonna take over again, and that's a good thing. And the harder that we push, like you said, the ones who are there and will last for the long run, you know what I mean? Because they put in that time and effort. They didn't just like, oh, it's been a year break, we're gonna chill and play video games kind of a thing. Like I think there's a huge wave of change coming, whether it's we do it ourselves or it just naturally happens kind of a thing. But I think that metal bands collectively, like worldwide, have that same view because we've talked to people from all over and they all kind of feel the same thing, that like the local scene is wanted, but the higher step, I don't know how to explain it or what the word would be, but it doesn't. So it's like there's a fight for all of us everywhere to get seen at this point because it's like the music itself is being shunned. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. It's like there's a stigma on metal when in reality, like the collective soul is slowly embracing it more. Like older people like metal. I know that, and I think it's because like older people to us now are like our grandparents and parents who were raised with rock. You know, they're rock heads themselves. They're just like getting old and they're just like, metal's a little too heavy for me. I still like my AC/DC though, but like metal's still there. You know what I mean? Like even the old people, eventually it's just going to be like us as old people. And we're like, yeah, radio stations got metal. Like it's going to happen. That's what I'm
Oh,
waiting
boy.
for.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
we live in a country that other countries look at like, what the fuck? Because we have legal weed. You know what I mean? Like I get that question almost every time before we hit record. It's like, you guys have legal weed, right? And I'm like, yeah. Like it's mind blowing how it changes. Like the world sees everything so differently. You know what I mean? Like the world itself, I think, will like become slowly this one united concept. But I think it's just like we're at that, like, especially North America, we're such a young culture. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We're that teenager with like the hair color, the neck collar that listens to like weird and different types of eclectic music. Like we're still a baby compared to the rest of the world. And like there's buildings in UK that are older than us. Like our whole civilization in North America, there's buildings that are older than us. So I think we're at a cool point where at least like because metal's like embraced in Japan, it's embraced in the Middle East, it's embraced in Europe, UK. It's just North America that it's slowly picking up now, right? So I think that our culture is slowly.
Because like the American metal scene is still huge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely huge, and we have created our own sound and
We got like 3 distinct spots, like the West Coast, Florida, and New York.
Mhm.
So as far as I know.
Yeah, and I mean, you have like we were talking to a band, Dawn of Ascension, and they're from like a Bible Belt, and they like literally had like 3 kids that were like local metalheads go to jail accused of murder for 18 years, not that long ago. So it's like
Wow.
that's what they have to deal with to be able to perform is like they're looked at like they're fucking Satanists. It's like it's 2021, dude. What the hell?
But
So-
you mentioned the Middle East. It's the same thing as like bands playing there. They got
Mhm.
blasphemy laws, right?
Yep.
So it's just like, anytime they have to do a show, everything's done by phone. So being like, hey, this is the location, you got to be there in 5 minutes or else you're not.
And that's sad, right?
They
Like
will get publicly executed for it.
mhm. It's really sad because that's music. It's like it's music. It's art, it's expression. But I think it all really just comes down to that unity. There's something about people being afraid of unity. And music is definitely the one thing that could unite an entire world because
Yeah.
it's the universal language. Like you can go play guitar in Africa with a dude playing a hand drum and you two are gonna jam. You don't need to speak the same language. You know what I mean? Like it's a powerful thing. And it's in our blood to want music too. And to be that united as a band. Like that's why I love that band Euphoria. I think like that itself is like what it almost feels like for world peace. I guess like that's how I picture it. That like moment where we're all jamming. It's like, yeah, this is good. That's kind of how I feel. Like I think it'll slowly get there. I don't know. I hope so. I'm very hope so. Like faithful, and I think that I think BC itself has its own unique problems to deal with when it comes to music, and I think we need to like not worry about pushing out and more worry about bringing it in. Because like if we're trying to constantly go out to open for big bands, there's no point. We just need to be able to bring the big bands back to Vancouver.
Yeah.
So I think
I think that's kind of the point of like the festivals like Loud as Hell, Armstrong, Metal Alcoholistic Fest. It's like there's not that many festivals and they're all in this area.
Mhm. Yeah.
They're all really close together and it's like, and then there's just nothing in between.
Yeah.
And then you got like Montreal.
Yeah, I shared a picture the other day and it was like showing the population of BC and where it is. Just for like our friends that bands that we just met and are like now friends with. It's so funny because it is literally like there's like 2 million people in the Vancouver area. Then outside of the Vancouver area, there's 2 million people. And then the rest of BC, there's 2 million people. And it's like, wow, like that's sad. I know there's cities that they're like, yeah, we live in a city with like 24,000 or 24 million. Like, sucks to be you guys, kind of a thing, right? Like our scene is very small because we're so spread out. It's I don't know. I definitely can't wait. I want to see the Vancouver scene get bigger. Like it needs to. I hate seeing world tours or North American tours where Vancouver's not on it.
Yeah.
Calgary's not on it. Like, why are we not classified Canada? And if we're not, then let's make our own country. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll come, but like I don't know, because like I think segregating like half of a country and not giving them shows is kind of a weird concept. Like that's I think my biggest problem right now with that huge metal festival that's gonna go on with like In Flames, Megadeth, and Lamb of God, and it's like those are my biggest favorite bands, and I'm like I kind of just like hate you guys right now because you're completely neglecting like half, almost an entire country. Because they only put Quebec on there, and that was after a lot of complaining, I'm pretty sure, or I think it was due to the dates and COVID. But it just sucks, right? Like I think of like the last good Vancouver show that I got to go to was Slipknot and Deftones, and that was at like the Peony Forum, and I was out of high school. I was like 2008.
Well,
That's how long it's been since I've been able to go see a good show, because like they bring them to Penticton, but there's like I don't know, like Godsmack and stuff, but you can't open for them. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they look for a local band to open for them.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. I think that would bring back the local scene in Vancouver if they were to somehow book bigger bands and have locals open and not just like just their opener. You know what I mean? Like
That's
make it a
usually what
little.
they were doing the last couple of years was they do a local opener that fit the same genre of metal.
Oh, wicked.
Vancouver, like that's pretty common. You see
That's
that.
sweet.
I
Yeah.
find Seattle did it more.
Well, they also got way more shows to do with.
Like
Yeah,
my
they don't.
friend's band got on like Devil Driver, OTEP, like fucking just
Fuck, could you
every
imagine?
fucking band.
Could you imagine? Like, yeah, that's one downfall to our scene for sure, is the lack of support for the underground. And it's like, well, where do you think all the bands that you guys are like paying hundreds of dollars to go see came from? Like, they're the bands that you're like walking past their venue for $5.
Yeah.
In 2 years, they're like your fan, but before they didn't want to like pay to see you. You know what I mean? It's a weird concept. I wish that like, have you guys seen the movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg?
No, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know the scene where they're like set up at the factory and like the parents are there and they're like they just fucking put on this own rock show for themselves. I think we need to go back to that. We're just like, what venue is gonna let us use it? Like we need a factory. We need a fucking a garage. Like give us something, you know. So I want to see Renegade shows. I don't know why. I just like rebellion. If there was anything in the industry you guys could change, what do you think it would be?
Hmm.
I mean, depends. You see a lot of crap. I don't know, but I mean, it's different because I'm a woman.
Mhm.
So I feel metalheads are obviously a lot better, but there's always fucking trolls.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, you know, it doesn't matter what you do as a woman, people just fucking troll you.
Yeah.
But
No, that's for sure. I
we're taking over.
yeah, I know. And honestly, some of my favorite fucking vocalists in metal are all female. Like, if you can find a female who can sing, scream, and fucking like kill it, sex isn't another thing about it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's definitely a huge factor in music that definitely needs to change. Is the approach of females need to be like pop singers and pretty. It's like, fuck no, man. Let them be what they want. They want tattoos everywhere and they want to fucking scream. Yeah, I think women in metal are definitely like people to look up to on all aspects. Like they're powerful. I don't know. There's so many words you can say, and it's cool to see more
Keep
females.
going.
Right? Keep stroking. There you go. No, it's cool to see, because before, like, I mean, me growing up, Kitty was the only band that I knew that had females in it, and I still to this day fucking love Kitty, and not many people like even remember them. And it's like
Distillers.
Brody Doll, literally, if I could show you right now, is a Distillers thing right there. Like Brody Dolly is one of my, yeah, I love her. she's my musical crush. So it's
And she's my crush.
right. That's funny. Yeah, that's always what it is too when you find somebody who's like, nah, she's mine. Like you stay back. No, but it's amazing to see, because like, I mean, you even I know they're not as like they're classified like that evanescence-y kind of metal, but like Lacuna Coil, she's fucking so talented. And it's like, I don't know, yeah. I love metal with females, and I think it's something that definitely needs to be appreciated more. And that's why I kind of like there's some bands that we have interviewed that hasn't been released yet and they've got females in them. And it's really cool to see. Like my favorite thing to see is like a female drummer. Like when we interviewed Distance Between, like she's from Colombia, she's classically trained, so she does like symphony orchestra kind of stuff. And you listen to their band and you're like, holy fuck. Like as a drummer, I'm like, how do you do this? Like what the fuck is your problem? How are you so talented? And it's just I like it's cool to see the diversity slowly happening, or like how transgender people are slowly being like, people are more comfortable to come out and be like, I'm in a band. I fucking love that. Like we are the community that embraces everyone for who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that it's funny enough to say, if there ever was going to be a fucking template of world peace, it would be based off metalheads. You know what I mean? Like 100%. We're like,
We're the best.
Yeah, we summon the devil, we drink blood, and we love kittens.
exactly, right? Yeah.
Right.
And it's funny because most metalheads actually do have cats. Like they're like cat people. It's funny because there's like kittens are awesome. Big teddy bears. Like I know some metalheads that like I'd be scared to see on the street, and I just know that like you can walk up and hug them if they're wearing a metal shirt and you're wearing a metal shirt. It's just like it's a brotherhood without an unspoken bond of family. Not brotherhood because like it's family. You know what I mean? Brotherhood's like we're going to war. Brother family's like I'll do anything for you. And I think that that's what we have in our community versus a lot of the others, because I know that's not in hip hop. Like I did hip hop for
No, they hate each other.
yeah, I did hip hop for 5 years, and
They're
it's
not
just
built.
straight beef. It's just like fucking hating each other, and I'm like, you know what? Like I need to get out of this. It was driving me to be negative, and like I was a totally different person back then. Like I hated, if I could see myself then as I do now, I totally hate myself. You know what I mean? Like, so it's no music scene has the love that we do, and I don't think people understand that because they don't get to see this. Like who we are for who we are, not what we are on stage.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like we have to work harder than other people because we are alternative looking, or we were always the black sheep. So
Mhm.
we have to make sure that we're always fucking nice and make sure we're always like hardworking, because people already have their mind made up about us as soon as they see you,
Yeah.
They're like, oh, dirty fucking metalhead who worships Satan,
Yep.
And then they're like, you're actually so nice.
Yeah.
You're actually this. I'm like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I could totally see that. Like, I mean, you assume men are going to be metalheads, but like you see a female, and it's definitely I could see like whoa, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like I could totally see that being a total piss off. That would drive me fucking nuts. Like, why does this determine if I'm allowed to dress the way I am? Like, I mean, or even the way I present myself. Like it's metalheads have always been the black sheep. You know what I mean? Always. And I think that's what makes us strong.
mhm,
Is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap up?
yeah, keep looking at our page for some updates. We will be releasing our EP semi shortly, and a new music video. And yeah, we're just gonna keep the content coming, and hopefully we can play a show for everyone.
Yeah. We'll definitely post all your guys' stuff below, and so it's easy for them to find you. And you guys should definitely come up here, and we'll set up a show, or we'll come down there and we'll try and set up a show with all the bands from BC at least. Because I think we need to unite for our scene at least, because we need to bring bands back to Vancouver. I want to see In Flames perform Vancouver, and you guys opening for them, and us opening for you. That's the goal. All right, guys, you stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up to date on all the fucking good shit we got going on.